Alrighty, we are live for another interview here inside of Marketing Tools in Tech. Thank you so much for joining me. I am here today with Kayla Sloan. I'm so excited. Thank you for joining me today, Kayla.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited too. It's fun to be chatting with you since we've known each other for years.
Yes. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell everyone just a little bit about who you are because I know how awesome you are, but they don't quite yet. So Kayla is an online business expert. She helps entrepreneurs like you who feel chained by your finances bet on yourself. So at kaylasloan.com, it's all about making your work life something you truly love. Kayla is also the founder of 10K VA, her flagship program, where she teaches you how to make a consistent $10,000 per month as a virtual assistant. And that is something that she has done for herself. And so I thought that it would be great to have a chance to chat with her about what can we as business owners outsource to a virtual assistant. And if that's something that you'd like to do, we're going to also go into how you can get started with 10K VA as well towards the end. So Kayla, can you give us an idea of how you got started in the virtual assistant world?
Definitely. Well, it really stems back to finding myself in a financial hole a few years ago. And so I started a blog just as a hobby, and I had absolutely no idea that this whole online business space existed. I didn't know you could make money as a virtual assistant or anything like that. And after I started blogging and I really kind of used my website, just like I said, as a hobby and creative outlet, and then I found income reports and I started reading those and reading them. They're so addicting, right? And so after reading all of those and seeing how these people were making money online, I decided that if they could do it, that I could do it too. And so I really went with that attitude of like, I know I need to make more money to get my finances in order. So I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. And I just reached out to a whole bunch of blogger friends that I had started interacting with and asked them, hey, do you know anyone who's looking to hire? You know, there's a few things I'm already good at. Maybe I can use some of these skills I've already developed and make a little extra money on the side.
Nice. So that's how you got started in the whole kind of virtual assistant world. And then that just kind of grew and grew, like you said, until you were, making 10K and I'm sure and more beyond that as you continue to grow your client base. So what were some of the common things that you were helping business owners with? So we can help business owners get an idea of what can they outsource. So what were some of the common things you were helping them with?
That's a great question. And there's lots and lots of different things you can do as a virtual assistant. I actually have a list of over 100 things that virtual assistants can do and that business owners can outsource to them to save time and money and focus on the big picture of their business while the virtual assistant takes care of these little daily tasks that are important, but they aren't the main focus for business owners. And so some of those might be things like researching. If you're writing a post about, a blog post or something about different tools, you can have your virtual assistant do some of that back-end research. You can have them create images to use on social media for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And then you can even have them create like a content calendar and schedule all of your social media posts. And those are some of the biggest demands that I've seen that business owners are outsourcing to virtual assistants.
Okay, great. So once we kind of take these things and we're outsourcing them, how do we manage it all? Well, let's take a step back. How do we figure out what things we need to outsource?
That's a great question. And I think that figuring out what you need to outsource kind of has a couple of different parts. So it could, number one, be things that you absolutely hate doing, but you know that they need to be done. And so you can find someone else to take on those tasks so you don't have to burden yourself with that or find yourself procrastinating over and over again doing those things. Secondly, it could be things that you don't necessarily know how to do. So like for me personally, I'm not a video editor. So anytime I do any kind of video editing, I outsource that. And so I have an assistant who specifically is really good at video. And so those are a couple of things that how I decide what to outsource, as well as how my clients decide what to outsource to me.
So, okay, so now that we've sort of figured out a couple things that we want to outsource, what's the next step? Are we, just going to look for someone? Are we writing down an operations manual? Like, what's that next step once we figured out the things that we want to outsource?
Yeah, so the next step is really going to be if it's something you know how to do, but you just don't like to do it, I would say create some sort of process. Because if you can have something already put together so that the virtual assistant who comes in knows exactly what you're expecting, that's going to make it so much easier for you guys to get started working together. Alternatively, if you don't know how to do this, what you're wanting to outsource, if you don't know how to do it yourself, I would start looking for someone who specializes in that. Look on Facebook, reach out to your existing network, see who they're using for this type of thing. Who are they outsourcing to? And they might be able to give you a really good referral. And that's the best way to find someone who's going to fit into your business. And then on the flip side, as a virtual assistant, getting referrals from other business owners makes it really easy for you to build your business with clients that you already know are going to respect you and be a good fit for you.
All right, so now we've figured out what we want to outsource. We kind of have a little bit of the process and kind of the statement of operations and whatnot. And we found someone that we would like to hire as a virtual assistant. What tools can we use to get them onboarded and get them into an easy flow where it sort of makes things simple? Because that's kind of the whole idea, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point of bringing somebody in, is to take things off your plate. So you definitely want to find the easiest way to do that without making, more problems and more work for yourself as a business owner. So some of the tools that I use with my clients and that we've seen a lot of success with are Asana, which is a project management tool. It's super easy to use. Another one that you could use alternatively would be Trello. I know some people like that setup a little bit better. Just kind of depends on what your business operation is, as well as how you personally learn and like to organize things. They're just set up a little bit different. And then as far as information management and password management and security, we use LastPass with a lot of my clients because it's free, at least to get started. It has most of the things you need on the free version. And it also provides really good security so that your virtual assistant has access to your accounts, but doesn't necessarily have to know all of your login information. And it also makes it very easy to share. So if you change to a different virtual assistant for some reason, you'll still be able to share that information really easily.
Okay, so that's cool. So we've got Asana, maybe Trello, maybe some sort of project management software. Then we've got LastPass in order to share those passwords. What about social media? So I know that a lot of times some of the first things that a business owner will outsource will be their social media management because it can be time consuming. So what are some of the tools that we can use along with our virtual assistant to get the social media piece going?
Definitely. Yes, the social media is definitely one of the most in-demand services that I've come across. And so when you're looking to work on that with your virtual assistant, there's a few different avenues you can use. So if you're wanting them to create graphics, you can have them use a lot of free tools like Canva. PicMonkey is another one. I know it's paid now, but it used to be free. So that's a change. But there's a lot of free ones you can use for graphic creation. And then when it comes to actually scheduling social media, there's so many options out there. Some are free, some are paid. They all have pros and cons. So I want to go through a couple of them that I've used and that I prefer now. So one of the very first ones I ever used was Buffer. And they have a free version of this, but if you schedule very many posts, then you might need the paid one. And the only thing I don't like about Buffer is you have to keep putting content into it regularly or it's going to run out of things to post on social media. Another one that's similar is called Hootsuite. And I have found that the free version of that is a lot more robust than Buffer. It has a lot more features, so you can watch social media feeds in there as well as scheduling content, which makes it really handy for a virtual assistant to use your accounts. And then if you are not against paid tools, you can use something like Meet Edgar or Post Planner. Both of those are paid tools. But the cool thing about that is that you'll only have to load your posts in there one time. So you'll only be paying your virtual assistant to input your content into this social media tool one time, and then it creates a queue of content that it will continue to pull from and basically recycle your posts. So you can kind of get more social media eyeballs on your content, even on some of your older evergreen posts. So that one's pretty cool. With the recent Facebook updates, though, I know that they are discouraging some of those tools and encouraging you to schedule directly on Facebook, which is also free. So.
Okay, those are really awesome tools, and I know that there are a lot of business owners that are starting to use those already for their social media management. So now I kind of want to shift the conversation just a little bit into going into someone who maybe wants to become a virtual assistant, because I know that's where you help your clients. Let's say you're just getting started and you're great with all of these marketing tools. You're great with the social media schedulers. You are familiar with LastPass and Asana, and you know how to get stuff done. What's your first step in becoming a virtual assistant?
If you've already done all of those things and know how to use those tools, you're really a step ahead. So your first step is going to be just finding that first client. And that sounds kind of scary. And it can be a big hurdle for people who want to get started. They might feel afraid to put themselves out there or to pitch their services. So what I always suggest to new virtual assistants who are at this very first step is to use their existing network. And the reason I suggest that versus going to job boards or something like that is because you're going to have a lot better luck finding someone who, number one, pays you what you're worth. Number two, respects you and your skills and knows that you are valuable to their business. And number three is probably a better fit for you anyway. There's not going to be as much competition to get that very first client, which means you won't feel probably as nervous putting yourself out there. And finding someone who's connected to your existing network also means that you have a better idea how their business operates. So it's going to be easier for you to step into that role and get started working with them and feel comfortable with the tasks and business model that they're already using.
So once you've found that first client, is there like a specific onboarding process, or how do you make sure things are smooth so you keep that client happy and you help them continue to operate their business?
Definitely. You know, when I very first started, I had no idea about onboarding processes, and I kind of just made it up as I went along. But I've discovered that having a simple step-by-step process to get started working with new clients is definitely easier and leads to less back and forth, you know, trying to figure out how things work and how to get started. And so I really use a short and simple process that starts with an onboarding call. So I do like to jump on the phone or on Zoom or Skype or something like that and chat with that business owner before we really say yes to working together, to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. Because as a virtual assistant, I want them to be a good fit for me, and I also want to be a good fit for them so that I'm providing value to their business. And then after that onboarding call, if all goes well, then I'll send over my standard contract. I might make a couple of changes depending on what our specific arrangement is pertaining to the services I'll be providing, you know, how payment will be received and invoices will be done, things like that. But in general, it's going to be my standard virtual assistant contract. And then I don't do any work until that is signed, because that's something I learned the hard way. So after getting that back from my client, then the next step is really going to be to put together an onboarding packet. And so I send them a copy of the signed contract if they don't have one already. I send them an expectations sheet where I walk them through things that I expect from them as well as what they're going to be expecting from me, and I try to spell that out as best as possible. And this really also helps to create client boundaries, which is something that can be difficult if you don't follow this process. You might find yourself feeling stressed or working on weekends or evenings or times that you don't want to work. If you're doing this full time, or if you're doing it part time, then you need to spell that out as well and tell them, you know, I'm not available from 9 to 5 because I'm at my day job. So really spelling those things out at the very beginning as part of your onboarding process is super important.
And I know that you actually have a virtual assistant business planning kit for those that are ready to start their virtual assistant business. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Definitely. So in the toolkit is going to be the list I talked about a little bit earlier that includes over 100 different services that you might be able to offer as a virtual assistant. And some of them on there are super simple, things you already know how to do, but you didn't know that you could use to make money. And then there's also a couple of worksheets to help you figure out how you want to structure your business and really get started putting together some of those materials for your onboarding process.
That's awesome. So I'm going to leave the link for that inside of the description box. You guys can go ahead and grab that. Kayla, is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to include before we wrap it up?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm just really excited to be here and be sharing everything now.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us. Once again, if you guys have questions about getting a virtual assistant onboarded or on the other hand, getting your own virtual assistant business going, please be sure to leave them in the comments. I will be here to answer them. Kayla is inside of the group as well. And if you would like to start your virtual assistant business, go ahead and tap the link and get the virtual assistant business planner kit. And I'll also provide details on how you can hop into Kayla's program 10K VA, because she's been able to earn 5 figures a month consistently for the last 12 months as a virtual assistant, and she wants to help you do the same as well. So all those details will be above this video. Kayla, thank you so much for joining me today on today's interview.
Thank you.
All right, you guys have a great one. Bye.